Three important words to help you start off your week. You are extraordinary. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Mike Zabrin, and welcome to Funktastic Chats, where we help you become extraordinary in your small business, and we help you dominate the field with creativity, originality, and vision. In an industry where 3% of tech founders are female, we're going to learn how Julie is taking on a $112 billion market within the wedding industry through her company Partyslate. Julie's going to walk through the 5 elements of brand strategy, scaling the business, how to book the gig and qualify a lead, and how to use the COVID era to expand your digital presence. What is the wild west of Instagram and Pinterest, and what's so special about posting professional photos on Partyslate? You're about to find out. Partyslate is a website that inspires people planning events and connects them with the leading event professionals and venues across the country and the world. Brides, grooms, gala chairs, and any corporate event that you could think of uses Partyslate to browse thousands of curated photos to find ideas and trends for their next big event. People can save their favorite photos, then discover and contact local event professionals who could bring their party to life. Partyslate is meant for people to find new ideas, get inspired, and find the local event professionals and venues connected to the best events in the country. It's an inspirational platform for larger scale parties. And today we're talking to CEO Julie Novack, who spent 20 years in the digital agency world, where she planned over 50 large scale galas and corporate events. She became increasingly frustrated while planning a high-profile cancer research gala, spending hours online looking for new ideas and venues, only to find wedding blogs, sterile vendor listing sites, and Pinterest dead ends. Julie was inspired and set out to create a website to address the $143 billion events industry. Since its founding in 2015, Partyslate has acquired thousands of the world's top event professionals and venues who upload beautiful event photos and galleries to the website. And Partyslate is headquartered in Chicago and is officially launched in 14 cities nationwide. So we're talking to Julie. Hi, Julie.
Hi. That was such a great introduction. You're
thank you.
You really captured the essence of Partyslate, so thank you for that.
Good. So I've been a premium member, I should say, of Partyslate since October. And this is the only year-long platform that I've ever signed up for. And by the way, every service I talk about on the podcast I personally use, but this is the only year-long platform where I didn't ask for referrals for any of my friends on the platform. I just signed up. And this podcast is so important because as I was researching Partyslate and the team, and believe me, there's no shortage of content on Julie Novack. I'm so inspired about
I'm an oversharer, so I have a lot of content.
I'm so inspired about not only what a great company you have, but also how open and transparent you are about the growth of the company and your mission to take on a $112 billion market in the U.S. alone. And you recently said Partyslate is still in phase 1. Could you tell me about some of the successes in phase 1 and what goes into phase 2? Because if you're still in phase 1, I think I'm in like -5.
Well, we are a venture-backed business. And so I think the concept of growth when you raise venture capital is different, because it's almost like venture capital funds are almost like gambling. They invest in 100 companies and 2 to 5 will really make it. And so in order to get their business model to work, they have to see inordinate successes from their companies. And so because we've raised venture capital money, we need to grow not like by 10% a year, but we need to double or triple every year. And so I think it's all relative to the type of business that you've started. So we really have grown so much. We have close to 1 million photos that have been uploaded to Partyslate. As you know, you can create a free profile page, or you can get one of our premium packages that unlock new profile features such as meet the team and testimonials and other things like that. But really, we do feel like we're just getting started. We are in year 5. We're in 14 cities. But really what we're excited about kind of for phase 2 is getting many, many more event professionals and also introducing Partyslate to so many millions of people that plan, typically it's larger scale events, so the do-it-yourself parties, which again, I love for my kids, my backyard. I can find ideas on Pinterest for those. But when you're planning a big corporate event or a fundraiser where you want to raise $200,000 or $1 million or a product launch, you really want to have one of those next level events. And so we want to get more people familiar with Party Slate so they can use it as a source of inspiration. But again, for someone like me, I'm always looking for new venues. I'm looking for new bands. I'm looking for new experiences that can take my events to the next level. That's really what we want to create on Party Slate.
I think it's really inspiring for our listeners to know that this is not an overnight success, and it's not something like an e-commerce or sales where you're receiving revenue right away. And I
Yes.
think you mentioned it took like 4 years to leave your digital ad agency job to pursue Party Slate. Can you
Yeah,
talk about
I had a business plan that I kept refining. I had the URL, the website address for partyslate.com for about 5 years before. I didn't build anything, but again, I was building the model and thinking about it and really, to be honest, obsessing about it. And I knew I had to do it, but it's so scary, to be honest, leaving your paid job. I was an executive at a mobile SaaS company, digital agency, and really putting yourself out there and raising money and asking friends and family, will you invest? It is very scary, but I felt so compelled and so excited about the idea that finally my husband said to me, like, Julie, you got to do this. I'm like, oh my God, I got to do this. And so I quit my job the next day. Again, 5 years, 5 years in the making. And any of
wow.
you guys, people that think like these tech startups that are, the 22-year-old in the garage, there has been a lot of research that older founders that have had experiences and managed teams do have a better chance of success. I was in my, mid 40s when I started this company, and it's never too late to follow your dream of what you want to do.
How are you in a better position to launch Party Slate because of your huge background in digital marketing? Do you feel like you were better set up for Party Slate than you would have just jumping into it without that background?
I do, because I think what people don't understand is that a big part of growing and leading a company is people management, aligning goals, having systems, recruiting the best talent, dealing with a lot of crises. We're in a pandemic. I've gone through September 11th and the 2008 financial crisis. I've run a $50 million business in my past. When you have a leader that has had those experiences, I do think it sets you up better for success. What I didn't have is this is my first startup. So I didn't have tech startup experience. So many people in Silicon Valley, oh, this is their third, fourth startup. So I didn't have that, but I did go through TechStars, which is a really prestigious tech accelerator program with my team. I've gone through the Chicago Booth New Venture Challenge. So I feel like I've gotten a lot of coaching, and I'm open to having mentors, even though, again, I'm a more experienced founder, to give me the ammunition and the things I didn't know from my past jobs.
For me, I started out playing local bars in Chicago, and the musicians would make $75 to $100 a night. And most of the time, I would pay them out of my pocket. And this is after I graduated college, where I was the barista at Starbucks. Okay. And during that time, though, we were learning how to seamlessly construct our set list, learning how to vibe with the audience, and build more than just music, but building a show and an unforgettable experience. It wasn't until we started playing at a club that had just opened up at the time, which is right near you guys, called The Basement, where the random couple who saw us play after the set had asked us to play their wedding. And I was like, really? You do? And I'll never forget. I'll never forget being on stage at that wedding, because in my head, I thought being on stage at that wedding that this is what I was meant to do. And
Yeah.
I knew in the back of my head that this was a start to something great. What was the turning point to you where you thought to yourself, this idea of Party Slate is really coming to life now, and my heart and soul is meant for this?
I mean, there's so many moments. I love that question. I kind of have goosebumps when you told the story about doing that first wedding and having that kind of like feeling like this is where I was meant to be. I can't identify one moment, but I will tell you that I really feel, I don't mean to sound corny, that I was born to do this job. I love technology. I love creativity. I mentioned before, I'm kind of a digital marketing geek, 25 years of working with some of the largest brands in the world and now building Party Slate's digital brand. But I also just love this industry. I can't explain it. I've worked in financial services and retail, and I've worked in every industry in my digital agency days. This industry is, it is so incredible. The relationships, the fact that everyone comes together like a Broadway show to put on this experience, and you can't help but create relationships. You have to create relationships and trust, and the creativity of the industry, not only musicians, but photographers and these decor companies. And I actually think it's similar to the digital world in that with doing a digital experience, you need creative and you need tech. To do great events, You really need the creative portion, but you also need the production and the tech and the logistics side. And so it's actually more similar than you would think, that I love digital and I love events. And to bring those two together is really, really, like you said, this is what I feel like I was born to do.
I did hear you planned your first birthday party when you were in like seventh grade.
I did. I actually planned a roller skating party. It was a boy girl party. And I still like saved my little list of things that I did. I love bringing people together and inspiring them. And if I had a choice between, I won't tell my husband this, but like a car or like a really cool event, I would do a really cool event and get a lesser car, because I like the way events connect people. And I think now during this pandemic, I mean, I just miss seeing people, and I miss connecting, and to have that feeling of inspiring people, whether it's to give money to an important charity or whether it's to launch a new product or create family memories, just like you said at that wedding. I think events, no matter what people say, like digital world, events will never go away. And I think with the onset of social media, events are going to get bigger and bigger because they're becoming advertising for big products. Look at the Kardashians, look what other people are doing. Their events are, yes, to celebrate, but they are to market new products. They are to amplify through social media. In some cases during the pandemic, they've been having these events with only 3 people, but it's to share an experience and create content. And so events are going to only get bigger. And I promise you, I believe in my heart of hearts that post pandemic, we're going to come back stronger than ever, this industry.
Oh, 2021 and 2022 are both going to be the
Yeah.
years of love, and
Yeah.
celebration.
I'll be the first in line for that vaccine.
Totally. Oh, me too. Me too. And Party Slate features decors, caterers, venues, photography, entertainment, and so much more. And a couple of statistics to go along with what you just said: 350,000 event planners alone in the U.S., and 5 times the amount of photographers and venues in the U.S.
Yeah, there's
And I, yeah,
so many. It's a huge industry. It's very fragmented. So there's, as you know, you can look at the Chicago market. There's, tons of companies of 1 to 10 people, 1 to 20 people. And then of course there's even the big hotels. If you really look at it, they have a group of 10 to 20 people or even 5 people that are in their catering and events team. So it's a really massive network of small creative businesses. And we want to make their digital marketing easier. I like to say that their Party Slate profile is like digital marketing in a box. You can share your photos, you can share your videos, you can put your testimonials on all your press and recognition without having to hire a developer, without having to go through the headaches of, yes, you need a beautiful website, but maybe your website could be 5 or 10 beautiful pages and then link back to your Party Slate profile to share your content. So we're just trying to make it a little bit easier to become a digital marketing expert.
I love that. The digital world is all about content. I'm in a wedding band. I post a photo, and then the content of that photo or photo album gets used to market my services. And you said it best. You said this is not the Wild West of Pinterest and Instagram. These are professionally posted photos that have links back to professionals that created it. So let's say I post a picture of us playing a wedding and I credit the photographer, the caterer, the venue. What's the bigger picture of how does this help my business in
Yeah.
the
So
long
when you credit, think about Instagram, because most people are familiar with Instagram. When you tag someone on Instagram, you are notifying that person that they've been tagged, but it also through Instagram's algorithm, it also, lets more people see the content that you've shared, especially if those people you tag interact with the photo or the post. There's some indication to Instagram that this is something big. On Party Slate, we've taken it to the next level. So when you tag the photographer or the videographer, your photos show up on their profile page as a credited event. So it kind of has a little bit of the LinkedIn component of, you can see who's worked together. And so basically what you're doing is, like Instagram, you're expanding your digital footprint and you're amplifying the content that you've created to more people so more people will see it. It's almost like your network offline. So all these people and referrals flow freely by the people that you've worked with and trust you. We want to not replace that, because that's never going to go away. We want to amplify those relationships in the digital space. So for example, if an engaged couple was looking at, like, let's say the Four Seasons Chicago, they could see all of the event planners, the entertainment, the bands, the DJs that have worked at the Four Seasons. And that gives them a sense of confidence, like, oh, they know my venue. Right or wrong, even if you don't know the venue space, the people that plan these parties want to know that you're familiar with the venue. So we think that will help you market yourselves by connecting to those planners and venues that you work with.
That's a big reason why it's important to upload a lot of photos. A lot of photos are so important on Party Slate because you don't want to go and visit 10 venues. You want to go and visit 3 venues, and a lot of photos gives you the bigger picture, right?
Yep. And I think that if you're planning a gala or a fundraiser, I want to see that venue has done galas and fundraisers. If I'm planning a bar mitzvah, I want to see, again, a lot of the venue people are like, oh, we can host any event. That is probably true. But when you're researching and you see one venue with 50 bar mitzvahs and one with 0, that says something to you about, oh, there's some nuances of there's got to be room for the reception and the photo booth, et cetera. So I think the more content, back to content marketing, the more content you can create that represents your brand. Of course, you don't want to just do any photos. The photos that represent your brand, you really want to make sure that it's accessible and easy to connect with those people that are looking for those ideas, or people don't have a good way to envision what does the space look like, or what does the dance floor look like. They want to see proof that you guys can handle my event.
Using words too is so helpful to describe the event because 95% of people use Google. And if you only have pictures, well, you're only going to appear on Google Images, and the ability to use text really helps SEO. And your team is such a blessing for helping with that. What are some ways that your interns and your team, Partyslate, makes it really easy for professionals to get started with the profile?
Yeah, so it's a self-service platform with our free profile, but many people choose to do our premium membership because we add our white glove service, which we basically do photo posting, video posting. We kind of do a little of the legwork for you, and then you guys can go back and add the descriptions and the details and rearrange photos, things like that. But really, to get started, you just go to partyslate.com/pro, and there's an easy page where you can just kind of click to create a free profile or contact us to learn more about our service and boosting packages. But really, I like to joke like my mom could build a profile. I don't know if she actually could, but she was actually on one of my webinars when I said that because, she does listen in and follow along.
Totally.
But I said,
My mom does
how
too.
old you are, your mom wants to know what you're doing, right?
I'm going to hear about this part of the interview from my mom. I was listening to her talk about her mom, and I did you tell her I listened too?
Yeah, you want to have a mom that wants to know what you're doing, so that's nice. I appreciate her. But basically, there's literally a gold button in the upper right corner of your profile where you can add all your features, add your descriptions, add a new event, like very easy drag and drop, rearrange photos, add your credit. So we've made it, again, my 20 plus years of user experience working with some of the biggest brands in the world. We've really recruited, I can't take credit for, the best digital marketing talent and user experience and product experts that have made it really easy. So we made the free profile, a lot of value packed into it. We always say, try it, get familiar. And then if you choose to do one of the bigger packages, because of course we do need to make money so I can pay salaries and keep Partyslate going, you get to unlock new features such as multiple cover photos, the team section, testimonials, really rich, what we call conversion tools, so that more people will contact you because they get to know you better.
I loved when Ben, I think that's his name.
Yes, I love Ben. He's
I
also
love
our
Ben.
CFO, our chief fun officer. I don't know if you knew that.
He is a very fun guy, so
Yeah.
that's the perfect role for him.
Yeah.
He actually reached out to a photographer for me and asked for photos from an event like 2 years ago. And I drive photographers absolutely bonkers with asking for photos. Like for some reason, I think if I message them on another platform, I'll get photos faster. But
Yeah.
I thought that was so cool that he
Yeah.
did that. And
We try to go the extra mile for our customers because without them, and we can't continue doing all these great articles and webinars and everything else. And so I'm so glad you mentioned Ben. I'm going to tell him that you gave him a shout out. He's famous.
oh, totally, he really is. He really is. Let's talk about the consumer part of Partyslate. Let's say a client is browsing Partyslate. I know from couples on popular wedding listing sites, there's a lot of stress around finding the right vendors. What are some other ways Partyslate makes it easy for the consumer side?
Yeah, when consumers, and that's just our shorthand for people planning a party that have a budget to spend, when they come to the website, we have a lot of ways they can get inspired. But if they're really leaning in and looking for a venue, looking for an event professional team, they can just go to our find venue section. And of course, there's a lot of directories out there. What we find a little different in our directory is when you click through to these profile pages, you get this really rich view of the venue or of the event professional. And then you can also see, again, who they've worked with and, who they're familiar with, venues they're familiar with, et cetera. And so we feel like it's again, like a portfolio sharing tool. You know how when you interview someone or you're meeting them for coffee or even a new client, you go to LinkedIn, just say, who are they? Who is this person? Well, we think Partyslate can become that kind of like, hey, before I meet with this person, I want to check them out. Or if they don't know who you are yet, the directory can really help them sort and filter. Like you can search for, have you done a fundraiser? What are your sub expertise? So we've made it really easy to filter your list down. And we like to call it the stalking process, which is really research. We want them to be able to really get to know you before they contact you. And we found that it's 7 or so touch points before they reach out. They're going to look at Instagram. They're going to look at your website. They're going to look on Partyslate. So make sure that's kind of your best foot forward when they're researching you.
I love that you said that they're researching you before they're messaging you. And I think it's really important to sit back and know when a client reaches out to you on Partyslate, they're more than just a DM on Instagram. It's a high value lead. What is your advice on that first client to customer interaction? Is it a long email, a short email, one question? What are some tips to get that immediate response back in your history?
Yeah, I am a 20-year salesperson. So no one's really asked me these questions. So I love answering these questions. So
Awesome.
I don't like getting form emails from people, like a long email, here's all about the venue and blah, 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 blah. Now I know they get a lot of inbound leads that aren't qualified, right? A lot of people can't reach out to everyone. I strongly feel a custom response, very short, is very important. If you want to qualify, let's say you can't get on the phone with everyone, you can ask a couple of follow-up questions like, oh, so glad you reached out, blah, blah, blah. I'm excited to learn more. A couple quick questions before we jump on a call. Or if it's really qualified and you have a phone number, I dare you to just pick up the phone and call that person, because guess what? The first person that gets to them and gets them on the phone has a much better chance of closing the business. So if it's qualified and it feels good, because again, you're going to do your own stalking, right? Like, is this person real? Blah, blah, blah. I really dare you guys to just pick up that phone. Younger people don't feel comfortable doing it. I promise you will lead to more sales.
I think vendors are sometimes like, oh my God, I spent so much time writing this whole thing out and then the client just never got back to me. And, I think there's also that balance of, like you said, with the form emails. I think what you're getting at is like, you don't want to give it all away either, where the client doesn't have a reason to
No.
respond back to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and again, if you get like tons of inbound leads and you're a really popular venue, you may want to qualify and just say, "Oh, I'm so excited to learn more about." They've contacted you. They already know a lot about you. Do not send a form letter. I feel very strongly about that. And if you think it's qualified, pick up the phone. If you don't know if it's qualified, still send something. It can still be a form. They won't know it's a form letter, but you could still send something like, hey, Julie, I just saw you reached out. So excited to talk to you, blah, 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 blah. 2 questions before we jump on a call. How many people? And da, da, da. It's something like that. And if they say, 10 people and you're a venue for 1,000, you know that you don't need to talk to this person, right? So you can do some qualifying questions. And if they don't answer your questions, they're not qualified. And again, if they don't respond right away, ask it again. Hey, just bumping this to the top, want to know what date and blah, blah, blah. So I really feel no form letters, short and sweet. And I say conversation, like you're a real person. Don't send a form letter. If I smell a form letter, I don't answer it.
Yeah, and people can tell when a form letter is using personalization fields in there. You know what I mean? If you just change out the name.
Yeah,
What
I
are
even talk
some
to my team and I'm like, our follow-up emails, don't put Partyslate is the leading blah, 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 blah. They already know who we are. So just, respond, great. Just went to your Instagram, obsessed with the blah, 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 make it personal. Just Friday at 2:00 work for you?
What are some low commitment questions that you can ask for a client, specifically in the wedding industry? You mentioned a couple. How many people are going to be? How many guests are you having? What are some other ones that you think are low commitment that are also qualifiers too?
Yeah, I think even asking, do you have an event planner? If there's an event planner, there's typically a larger scale budget. And again, that's not required. You don't have to have an event planner, but hey, just curious, do you have an event planner? Like very low key. I think I'm just curious what you do when you get inbound leads. What are your qualifying questions?
So at first, I would send a personal email. I would either ask too many questions or I would send them all of my options and all my pricing right away.
Oh, don't do that ever.
And I had nobody like you to tell me that. And
Yeah.
so, oh man, not hearing a response back, I just kind of assumed that our band sucked.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? And then I figured out, and I was like, if I don't ever have a chance to talk to this client on the phone, I'll never be able to tell them why our product is so great in the first place.
Yeah, you should change your mindset, and I encourage anyone who's listening to this, change your mindset to the only goal is to get them on a phone call, and now in this new world we live in, a Zoom. And so that is your only goal. So everything you do is working towards getting them on that call. Do not share anything. Always hold back information. They ask for pricing. We actually have a bunch of options. I have 3 questions to ask you before I can send your pricing. Tuesday at 2 o'clock, do you have time for a quick Zoom? Or today, or better yet, pick up the phone and call them. I have 2 questions. Never ask more than 3 questions. I would say 2 is the most. You want to start creating this dialogue, this conversation, but the only goal is to get them on the phone if you've qualified that you want to talk to them. That's it. And they ask for pricing. They can ask for pricing 20 different ways. You're not going to send them pricing until you talk to them.
That's so great.
Ever.
And I think that's important too, because really the pricing is so customized in the wedding world too. So you're not even going to really, I mean, you'll have an idea, but it's best for both parties to talk on the phone. And I
Yeah,
just,
so there isn't like a package like it's, $2,000. Maybe a photo booth is like, this is our prices for photo booth. That's fine. But even those photo booth companies, there's 1,000 photo booth companies. You got to get them on the phone to differentiate why your photo booth is better than whether it's your props, your service, your follow up, your social. You have to differentiate yourself. So you've got to get them on the phone. That's your only goal, to get them on the phone. You could even say something in your email like, hey, I have a really fun experiential thing that we're doing with this last wedding. I'd love to tell you about it. Just something to get them
that's
on
so
the phone.
great.
Yeah. Get them
Um,
on the phone. That's your only goal. I always tell people, yes, they can ask for pricing. They can ask over and over again, but you have 3 questions and a 15-minute call, and then I'll get you that pricing right away.
okay, Julie, I know we have so much more to talk about, but don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break. That's Julie Roth Novack, CEO of Partyslate, and you can go to www.partyslate.com and get started. Create a free profile. It's easy to make, and you can watch the entire events world open up right in front of your eyes through your computer screen like never seen before. Stick around. We'll be right back with Julie. Okay, let's talk to you about what's coming up next week on Funktastic Chats. Next week's podcast is going to be brought to you by our friends over at Bandzoogle. Built by musicians for musicians, Bandzoogle is an all-in-one platform that makes it easy to build a beautiful website and EPK for your music. And boy, do we know that firsthand here. Bandzoogle is how we made our website on www.funktasticchats.com. It's a beautiful looking website. It was super easy to make, and you really can't go wrong with Bandzoogle's dozens of fully customizable design templates. And in addition to that, all the features you need for a professional website are already built in, including hosting and a custom domain name, tools to sell your merch and your music commission-free crowdfunding and fan subscription features, mailing list tools to grow your fan list and to send newsletters, social media integrations, and live support from their musician-friendly team 7 days a week. And boy, do I love that feature. I love their customer support, and I think over 80% of their team are musicians themselves, so they're really great people to get advice from when building a musician website. And Funktastic Chats listeners can go to www.bandzoogle.com to try it for free for 30 days. That's right, www.bandzoogle.com. Try it for free for 30 days. And we're here to sweeten the deal for you here at Funktastic Chats. So you can get 15% off your first year of any subscription by entering the promo code FUNKTASTIC. That's right, go to bandzoogle.com and enter the promo code FUNKTASTIC, that's Funktastic, to get 15% off the first year of any subscription. So we'll be here next week with Vice President of the company, Dave Cool. And yes, that is his real last name, Dave Cool. And we'll see you next week with Dave. But in the meantime, let's go back to Julie Roth, Novack, CEO of Partyslate. Back to the overall picture of Partyslate. Partyslate is in 14 cities, and you guys are headquartered in Chicago.
Yes.
Mentors of yours were telling you, don't move too quickly, stay in Chicago.
Yes.
Was it a gut feeling at the time, or was there any part of you that thought, there might be some risk involved to moving as quickly as you did? Or tell me about that process.
We have a lot of debates. We joke about this boardroom debate of how fast we move to new cities and how much we concentrate on growing existing cities. Really, the first year of Partyslate was just Chicago. Then we did LA, New York, and other cities after that. I always felt that having the big names like Mindy Weiss and Colin Cowie and others, Preston Bailey on Partyslate would help us grow. And we do have big names in Chicago too, but more like the celebrity kind of names. And so I believe we expanded at the right time after a year of being in Chicago. I think the question for us is, New York and LA are so huge. We probably only have 10, 20% of the event professionals that we want. How fast do we skim the top of each cities and get the top 200, 300 versus going deeper in the New York metro area and surrounding areas in LA, Southern California, even Chicago, thinking about the suburbs and other ways that we can get more professionals. So I don't know if we have the answer, but we feel once you have 500, 600 event professionals, all the credits start taking over. So the credits that you put up there, if they don't have a profile, we invite them to create a free profile so that your work shows up on their page, but then they also have a head start on their profile page. So I don't have a clean answer for you, but I do think the first year spent in Chicago was the right thing to do to really build our, what we call product market fit, to really build out how does our business work.
Does Partyslate have set out metrics before making the call to move on to the next city? Is there some math involved?
Yeah, there's math involved in what's the profitability, so to speak, of a city. So how much revenue can we get from a Chicago, New York, or LA? How much traffic do we have in each city? How much content do we have? So we do have a lot of formulas. They kind of call it unit economics of what's the economics of a city? What's the economics of a sale? So a lot of my geeky Techstars mentors and others have really helped us think through how do venture capitalists look at the business and how do we think of the core strategy for really building out a business. And I'd say building a startup is like a high rise. Let's say you're building a skyscraper even. You have to raise a lot of money and finance that skyscraper. And that skyscraper is not profitable for years until you start filling the building. And so for a venture-backed business, you raise money and knowing that you're building this infrastructure, this foundation to have a skyscraper that will be profitable one day. And so we know our profitability is probably 2 years out. So we're still investing in our foundation and growing. And then we hope to have a very highly scalable platform that will create a high profitability one day.
A big part of Partyslate's foundation for me is that Partyslate is such an advocate on diversity.
Yes.
And you guys actually started a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee, which audits the culture and finds areas of improvement. You've partnered with Black-owned businesses when launching into new cities. Yep. Diversity is so important within the wedding industry. In fact, we recently participated in a styled shoot with Jessica Levi from Clover Events and Ashley Best from Best Events. I think they both have Partyslate profiles too. And this is the question they asked me that I want to pass along to you. Why is diversity so important within the events industry?
I mean, it's critical not just in the events industry, but the world we live in. And we take it very seriously. Our new DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion committee is so important, doing such great work. So the reason why it's so important is, we live in a diverse world and we need to reflect the world we live in. And I think as a brand and as you're running your business, you want to make sure people see you as an inclusive company and that you represent the world, not just a slice of people. We also think the diversity adds to the creativity. We want to see different types of events, different traditions, different styles, different sets of event professionals that come together to create this fabulous experience. And so we're looking both internally at how we become more diverse ourselves as far as when we start growing again after this pandemic, but also diverse thinking, different ways of thinking, and really making sure that we're being inclusive and representing the world we live in on social media, on our platform. And we just, again, take it very seriously. So I'm so glad to hear you say that you've been very involved as well.
A quick side story, I used to play in a blues band in college, and we would open up for Buddy Guy and tour around the country. And we were sitting in the van one day, and the band leader said, we might be an all white blues band, but if you don't understand where I'm coming from, then you'll never understand my music or play it right. And
Yeah.
he would play CDs from black artists the entire way in the van, driving from Chicago to Rhode Island straight.
Wow.
And he would tell me, yeah, I mean, the notes you're playing is like, that's a blues song, but the blues is all about emotion. Blues music represented the opposing voice that refused to be silenced by oppression and segregation, and the blues is expressed with this unprecedented clarity, honesty, and
Wow.
simplicity. So if you want to play an African American art form, you need to study the history.
Yeah.
And I was watching this YouTube video on your channel with the owner of
Yeah. Gertie Design. Yeah.
Gertie Design, and I want to take a quote from what she said in that video. She says, "Sit back and think before you speak. Who am I leaving out?" And she has a collage of photos on her contract featuring people of color and same-sex marriage. And she said something to the extent of, "I'm letting the client know we're open-minded and a believer in love. I'm a believer in my brand, and you should build your brand without apology. And whatever you associate yourself with, this is reflective of you. And if they trust you and like you, they'll give you the wedding." And I thought that was so beautiful and smart.
She's such an amazing leader, and I loved doing that, kind of.
Talk about goosebumps. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
me too, the personal branding event. And again, little things like in your contract, you have bride and groom. You can't use those terms to be inclusive for everyone, and your imagery, but also who you work with and who you associate yourself with. So I'm really proud that outside of Party Slate, I'm working with Kareem Quo Wells, the king of all mitzvahs, a DJ here in Chicago, and Robin Robinson, former newscaster, to create a new group called We Up. And the goal is to help Black owned businesses scale and create generational wealth here in Chicago. And we had our first webinar last week, and it was absolutely inspirational. We had a popcorn company called Irby Pop, Black owned businesses from the South Side. They are dynamic and creative. I think they have 6 kids. They're like, oh my God.
Wow.
And, we're giving them connections, and we're sponsoring them, and we're helping them. And we hope to help 6 Black owned businesses in 2021. So I'm just
That's
proud
amazing.
personally that I've taken it beyond Party Slate, and I'm awake and excited to help make an impact, no matter if it's just 5 or 6 businesses I can help, putting a spotlight on underrepresented groups.
Yeah, I mean, I also thought that was so beautiful and smart for that woman from Gertie Design to send that message before a client even signs the contract. And that kind of leads me to my next question, which is talking about brand. Could you tell our listeners the difference between company brand and your personal brand?
Yes. So if it's a small business, if you're 1 to 5 employees or 1 to 10 employees, personal brand and company brand are very tied together, but they are different. So your company brand, it's really important to know your mission, your vision, your core values, what you believe in, how you're different, and really position that. But then as your personal brand, I always like to say, what are your superpowers? What are the things you're excited about? So for me, I've built my personal brand around, of course, Party Slate and being a connector. That's one thing, but also helping female founders, female tech founders especially, but helping female founders scale their business. Only I think it's about 3% of all venture capital money go to female founded tech companies. So really helping underrepresented groups and women really scale their business. And then I just love digital marketing education. Maybe I think as a kid, I always wanted to be a math teacher, but now I like teaching digital marketing. And I don't know everything, but my team is so smart, so they make me look good. So I'm not the best email marketing person, but I have such a good email marketing person at Party Slate. And if I can share email marketing best practices and blogs and content marketing and personal branding, that's my kind of third bubble of personal branding that I do. So, you really need to think about, like, what are your content bubbles? Like, what do you get excited about? What do you like talking about? And it can be anything. You could If you love animals and you're volunteering at Paws, you could build a brand about that. Like, you really want to make sure people can remember what you stand for. And that's really what personal branding is.
So yeah, I mean, what you stand for, your core values, what you believe
They do
in.
overlap with small businesses, but like if you think about a hotel, like the Four Seasons is one of the strongest brands in the world, from not only service expertise, but food and everything else that Four Seasons, luxury Four Seasons stands for. But then you also have, Jamie, who runs the Four Seasons catering group. She isn't a social media person, but she is very well known. She's been there for over 20 years. She did my wedding. She's got a personal brand through her relationships and really a personal brand of trust and follow through, et cetera. So you need to think through, what do you stand for and what does your company stand for? And of course, there might be the overlap there.
And then we go into the 5 elements of brand strategy. So with that, you have your purpose, your values, your personality, and your identity. How do these topics tie back always to your marketing? Do you have
Yeah.
any tips for that?
Yeah, really, the basis of all your marketing strategy has to tie back to your brand strategy. When we talk about purpose, Party Slate really, believes that inspired events inspire people. We want to help people plan these events that really create great memories. That message through in all of our posts that we create. Now, we don't repeat those words, but the essence of our posts are tied back to that vision and mission that we have. And so I think when you create your vision, and again, the difference between mission is what you're setting out to do, and your vision is where you're going and what you aspire towards. And so when you think through those things, how are these marketing communications helping you get closer or reinforcing where you're going and who you are?
So your purpose is your mission and what you want to do. How about your personality? How does
Yeah,
that play into it?
personality. So, like, I know a lot of different companies have different personalities. So, Marcy Bloom is a big planner in New York. She is very sarcastic, and like you look at her posts, and you're like, she is sarcastic. She does not apologize for it. She is funny. She is dry. And then you look someone like Gertie is more about elegance and design and diversity. And you want to think through like what you stand for. So for Party Slate, we want to be all about inspiration, and our brand is really about, we are this beautiful blank canvas, and you come and get inspired and connect with all the great people that really are behind the art of the party. And so our brand, you could think of more like a Vogue or fashion. We don't want to be sarcastic. We don't want to be like cheeky. We want to just celebrate the beauty and the inspiration of these experiences. And so it's not saying that I can't be that way from time to time, but you're not going to see like our sarcastic post from Party Slate.
Mm, gotcha. How about your identity? How does that tie into
Your visual identity is usually the first place people go to when you think about brand. And I actually think it's one really important element, but it's actually not the most important element. So the visual design is, what do things look like and feel like? So for Party Slate, it's very modern and simple. Lots of, we do have accent colors of gold and kind of, maroon, kind of pink color, but really it's a lot of black and white, because we believe the photos and the videos, they're the art of Party Slate. So we want our design to be like a beautiful contemporary art museum that you're walking into, and the art is what stands out. When you see Party Slate's design, you'll notice that it's very minimalistic, and that's very purposeful, because we want the art and the glory of Party Slate to be your work and your photos and your fantastic events.
Well, you have such an amazing team that
Do it without my team, just to
oh
be
my
clear.
God.
And my co-founder, John Harrow, we've worked together for over 15 years. And, is it all, I was joking, like rainbows and unicorns? No, it's like a brother-sister relationship. We don't always agree, but we've worked together for so long. And he is like the tech, product, and analytical thinker. And I am the, kind of marketing, sales, and the front of the company. But like, I couldn't do it without this amazing team that we have.
What do you look for as far as proactiveness in your employees, and especially in the growth phase? I mean, how have you learned to rely on your team during the trial and error process of building Party Slate,
Yeah.
especially new features before you guys scale them into the big picture?
Yeah, I mean, we really look for people that are passionate about either. And again, I will not say that, John is like, oh, I love events. But what John's excited about is building a global platform that's scalable and great technology and really building something amazing. But we look for people that are passionate about solving problems. We look for people that can be self directed, but take coaching. And I think when we talk about cultural fit, we feel like we're very much like a family. We're looking for people that want to create relationships and really collaborate and join a team that's really purposeful about what we're building.
Partyslate is the ultimate inspiration platform and is meant to find local event professionals and venues connected to the best events in the country. Julie, before I let you go, what's on the table for Partyslate within, like, let's say the next 2 years or so?
Oh,
What
wow.
do you?
So
Yeah.
we are excited to, number one, do many more digital events. So in December, we are doing a 2-day digital conference called The Main Event. It is free to attend. I can send you over the link or just go to Partyslate and you can find it. That is something that's really exciting to us, is to have a bigger platform to share more ideas. We're also excited to lean into more ways we can create an easier experience for consumers. So how can we take them through more of a guided experience to help them find not only the right inspiration, but the right event professionals. We're well on our way to doing that, but we think we can build even more features to help consumers. And then we're always looking for new problems we can solve, mainly sales and marketing related, for event professionals. How can we help you organize your photos more? How can we help you really blast your content out to more people, become better digital marketers? So we have a lot of exciting things coming up. I'm also very excited. We just launched our keyword search. So now you can search for like beach weddings and find photos. And of course, we're going to be refining that over time. So we have a lot of ideas, but it's always going to be towards solving problems and opportunities tied back to our mission, which is being the leading event inspiration platform that helps people plan these events and connect them with the best local event professionals.
I'm so excited to keep up with all the features, and I'm also excited to watch my business grow through Partyslate. I'm excited to watch my friends' businesses grow through Partyslate. It really is a website that features the best of the best. And Julie, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Please follow us on Instagram too. We're just at Party Slate. We've got a lot of great updates about our events and new things that are happening. And for any of the event professionals, on the podcast, please take a look and try it out. Create a free profile at partyslate.com/pro.
Thanks so much, Julie. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming
Thank
on the
you.
podcast. And there you have it, Julie Roth Novack, the CEO of Partyslate. Make sure you go on their website, show them some love, www.partyslate.com, and create a free profile to get started. See what they have to offer, and you're going to meet new people, you're going to connect with new people, you're going to get more gigs, and you're going to find the professionals to plan your next event. And all at the same time, you're going to learn so much about the events industry, opening up right in front of your eyes through your computer screen like you've never seen it before. And when you sign up for our subscription, you might even work with their Chief Executive Fun Officer, Ben. I learned that was his title today. He was amazing. He was the guy who signed me up and worked with me on my own profile. Please be safe, be happy. Things are rough right now with COVID, but you know what? Things are going to come back around. 2021, 2022, and on are going to be the years of love, celebration, and joy. We'll see you next week. And remember, you are extraordinary.
I said you are a once in a lifetime love, and I don't want my life to be like it was. Maybe because your light shine enough for every dark sky to be brightened up. You are a once in a lifetime love. So extraordinary. I don't want my life to be like it was. So incredible. Your light shine enough. I don't think you understand how special you are. To be brightened up. Yeah, you are a once in a lifetime love. I don't want my life to be like it